Well, welcome everyone. This is Mario Fantes, and today I have with me Michael Álvarez from Flub. Is that how you pronounce it? Flub?
Flub, yes. Some people have pronounced it flub in the past. It's not the way you say it.
Flub.
Flub.
So how do you pronounce it yourself?
I speak with like a slur because I just suck at talking, but it's just flub.
Flub, okay. Because,
Flub.
us Spaniards would say flub,
Yeah.
Okay, so how are you doing, man?
I'm good. I wasted my whole morning arguing with people on the internet instead of working out like I told myself I would. So it's been a good morning.
Pretty good morning, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there's Andrew Patterson from Junaresca, my boys. He was having a chat with me last Saturday.
Oh, yeah, I was watching that one too. I saw he was talking about Untitled and how he was gonna get another vocalist or something so he could just play guitar. So he has the right idea. So I play guitar too. I'm about to do the same shit. Just fucking write everything and have somebody else handle it.
So you would prefer also to just go on the guitars instead of
do
the vocals live?
I can't talk to people. Like talking on stage, and like being a frontman, that's hard. I hate it.
I know, dude. Like
I'm
I feel like I'm good at performing. Like the whole performance part of singing or being on a stage, but the talking part to the audience,
yeah,
I am so awkward. Lately I've been like kind of studying it because I want to become better at it. I kind of got super inspired after seeing Devin Townsend live, and how he fucking manages, how he rules the fucking audience, But I will never become any close to that. he's a fucking god, when it comes to that, and when it comes to many things, anyways. But I want to get better. But dude, it's hard. It's fucking hard. I guess it's also comes with your personality. Like if you are more of an introvert, I guess it's more difficult. I'm quite introvert, so.
Yeah, like I find many people of this genre are very introverted, like in general.
Absolutely.
But like dudes like Devin, like he has this very natural charisma. Like I've seen Devin too, only one time though, but I saw him like fucking probably like 7 or 8 years ago. It's like when Gojira had released that one album. I can't pronounce the name, but Le Font some I can't say it, but yeah, I saw him and like his energy is cool because like it's not like he was really trying hard, it was just like, hey guys, how you doing, blah blah, and it was just natural, kind of flew out.
Yeah, man, it doesn't
it's hard
feel
to do
forced
with intense
at
music,
all. Exactly. But you know what, he says in interviews that he's a huge introvert, and he hates big crowds and stuff, but it's just, for him it's work and he's good at it, and it sounds so natural, like not forced at all. So it's super cool.
It's part of the performance. It's its own performance. I'm learning. Back when I was an Alter Beast, like pretty much I rehearsed all my speeches like down to the T. Like I did one tour where I was drunk every day, so like I kind of messed up and I said like the same song name like a couple of times during the set when I shouldn't have. And like there'll be times I'm like still talking and the song will start and I'm like, oh shit, like look like an idiot. So I kind of started rehearsing my lines like with the interlude music that we had on stage. So like I would take certain cues from the music and I would know say this or say that, and like we got like 2 seconds left before like the drum roll comes in. So like I just treated it like it was part of the song,
Yeah.
That was my way around it.
Have you been touring just in the States or also in Europe?
I've never toured Europe. I've only done the States. I've done like a good handful of like US tours. I think probably like 5 or 6 now. And I've done Canada twice, or I think Canada technically 3 times. One of them was only like 3 days though. But yeah, I did that, and then I just did Mexico last year with Equipoise when I was filling in for them.
Sick, man. How was that touring in Mexico?
It was cool. Like me being Mexican, it was cool for the first time going to the motherland and seeing everything that like my family and shit has talked about for years. And
the food, dude.
Yeah, it was just
the fucking food.
It was a nice environment.
Yeah, I bet it was, man. I'm excited to visit South America.
Yeah, it's a very how do you say, grateful country. Like some people I met down over there, they're talking about how like they see all these tours happening in the States and these crazy UK tours, and they want all those tours to come to South America, but the market out there is really hard for technical music. The technical death metal stuff is very far and few in between out over there. So when bands like from everywhere else that they've been listening to for 15 years finally make it out over there, they like fucking are there. They
like drive crazy, for 10 hours to gigs that I heard. Like they
make the mission. Was it this one guy had told me he had saved up money for like months just so he could like get a hotel and like bring his family and party at the show that we played. And yeah, like he was super awesome. He just had a good time, and he was like, he didn't expect us to like sit out and talk to like the people at the show, but like yeah, we talked to everybody and hang out. And
of course,
he was like, I can't believe I'm talking to you. I'm like, I'm fucking nobody, man. Just this guy. I'm a dude who just plays music. And
you know what? That's kind of the things I hate about being a vocalist on tour, because we have to shut the fuck up if we don't want to fuck up vocals. And I like to talk. Well, I mean, not always, but I like to meet new people and just talk to them, and share different stories and stuff. And I feel like when I start touring with Cult of Lilith, I won't be able to do much because it's so fucking. This band is so fucking demanding, vocal wise.
Oh no, you get some crazy shit in your music. You have all ranges that you have to deal with. So
yeah, man, it's fucking it's fucking demanding, and I feel like I will just have to shut the fuck up during tours, which sucks. But I mean, what can you do?
Like, I found a way around it. Like it's just like a lot of people, they'll come up and they want to talk, or they'll ask like quick questions, or they'll compliment you. But I learned a way around to save your voice is ask them a question, and ask a good question.
Let them talk.
Talking. So you're talking very minimal, and saving your voice as they get to talk.
That is a very good tip, actually. That's great advice.
Yeah. I could say, like, I've never hurt myself on tour doing vocals. Like, I did, I think, once, like, at one of my first tours a long time ago, but that was, like, when I was really inexperienced and wasn't warming up.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I smoked cigarettes for a long time, too, and, like, I would smoke a bunch of cigarettes before our set, then after our set, and talk to people and drink and be loud, and I never necessarily, like, hurt my voice, but, like, it was also because I think I started doing more proper warm-ups and cool-downs after sets. And
dude, warm-up is everything, honestly. Warm-up is everything.
Like, it makes a huge difference. And then, like I said, you're able to talk to people afterwards, and people are more down just to, like, hang out. But like I said, like, talking to people and asking them questions, like, it saves your voice because, like, you don't really have to talk much, and they get to share about their lives, and you get to learn about them.
Exactly. And like at the end, they feel like they had a conversation with you, even though you didn't talk much, I guess.
Yeah, like that's my thing too. I get really uncomfortable when people compliment me. Like I understand people want to compliment somebody, and like it's I do it too. I'm like, yo, dude, your music's awesome, but like I get a little uncomfortable about it. So like I had this one guy who he came up to me and he's like, dude, like you guys are amazing. I'm like, thank you, yeah. And then he kind of kept like saying stuff like that, like there was like, yo, you guys are amazing, you're amazing. Like, oh, I love your vocals, like this is amazing. And I'm like, thank you, dude. But I kind of felt weird. I didn't know how to like really respond. So I was like, I looked at his T-shirt. I'm like, yo, like fucking like, I can't remember what band he had. But I'm like, yo, like you ever listen to this album? Like, what's your favorite song? And then he kind of started talking about that. And I felt like we had a more meaningful conversation because like I asked him a question and we got over that hurdle of like complimenting one another. The whole awkward, thank you for coming out. Yeah, whatever. Bye. See you later. Like, it was just like, hey man, like what kind of shoes are those?
I used to be awful at receiving compliments. With time, I just learned that because I also love to give compliments to people. I also love complimenting people when I think they're doing shit, like sick shit. So I just say thank you. I appreciate the kind words, of course. Like I'm always grateful, but of course it still is a bit awkward at times, for sure.
I think to myself, the more like famous the person, like the less you need to say. Like, what is it? I worked at this restaurant here in San Francisco called Tony's Napolitana, And my chef, he's from I think he's from Italy. He's a world-renowned chef. This dude named Tony Gemignani.
That sounds Italian, definitely.
Yeah, he's Italian. So, yeah, he's like good friends with the guys in Metallica, and like every once in a while they'll come into like the restaurant and everything, and I'm not gonna go walk up and try to fanboy over fucking any of these guys. Like that's rude. These guys are having dinner with their family.
Exactly.
But we had like Lars Ulrich in there a bunch of times, and like him and his family were like having dinner, and I made like the wood fire Napolitano style like pizzas and shit. So I would go and like take them to the table like so they're fresh like right when they're done. And they ordered like a bunch of pizzas for me, like five different pizzas through the span of like a couple hours. And by the time I brought the last pizza, he's like, "Hey, dude, like you guys been doing a great job today. Everything tastes amazing. Thank you." I'm like, "Yo,
sick.
Metallica." He's like, "Yeah, I'm like, all right, cool."
Sick, dude.
Just gave him the horns. That's all you needed. Metallica. He's like, "Yep, that was it." I don't need to suck his dick in front of his family. I don't need a fanboy. Just
exactly.
That's all you need right there.
Yeah.
Makes life easy.
Sick, dude. There's viewer saying hands down the best part of that Equipoise tour was getting to kick back and talk to you guys. So people remember, man.
It was a good tour. It was cool for me because it wasn't my band, so like I could just like walk around and hang out with other people. And like their set is like the set that they chose, there's like several instrumentals in between. So like I really only did I think like 3 or 4 songs live, and then there was like a 6-7 song set. So like one, I didn't really like ruin my voice because there wasn't much I had to do. I wasn't really performing the whole set. But I also had like little breaks in between songs, so I could go hop off stage, hang out, get some water, Somebody's hanging out right there. I'm like, "How you doing, man?" I'm on break right now,
Nice.
This is my 10-minute mandated break.
So as I always say, these talks I'm using mostly for getting to know people that I want to know, but I don't have the opportunity either because of time or because of space, because we're obviously in the opposite corners of the planet, basically. But I use them to get to know people that I wanted to know for some time, and your name popped up a long time ago, just like Andrius also. And it was thanks to Danny at first. Danny, because I don't know much about the tech death scene. Like I'm just getting to know the scene much more now, actually, these months. But I'm getting to know people, and it was Danny, the guitarist in Cult of Lilith, who talked to me about you and like Andrew and Max Smith, and so I'm excited to get to know more about you guys. All these talks have been pretty fucking awesome so far. So I was excited to talk to you also. I want you to tell me though about yourself, like how did you started doing vocals? How like your first bands? How is your current band Flub doing right now? And I'm just gonna let you talk because I don't want to fuck up. Last talk I fucked up big time with Andrew because for some reason I thought Junaresca had already released the album, and they just released one single, not the whole fucking album. And I was like, so how's the album release going? And he's like, well, I don't know, you tell me. So please
I made those mistakes too, it's okay. But fucking, well, like I said, I've been doing music for a long time. This is like, I feel, wait, what year is this? 2021? I started really doing music, I think, probably like around 2007. I was like 14.
Same year, actually. Like, at least that's when I started taking it seriously. 2006, 2007. Yeah. How old are you? Sorry, Michael. How are you?
I just turned 29 a couple weeks ago.
All right, so you started pretty young, actually, right? Because I'm almost 33, and I started around the same time.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I'm coming up behind you. It's been a while. Like I've done a couple other podcast interviews where I've talked about like more in depth of like my lineage of music, but like for the most part, like I started out playing guitar when I was younger, and I started a band, or I started like a handful of bands when I was in high school, but they never did anything because like the area where I'm from out here in Sacramento, I came from South Sac, and South Sacramento is like a little more like it's just like not necessarily like a metal area, you know. There's not too many people out there that are like super into the metal scene. There's another area fairly close by called Elk Grove, and one of my best friends from middle school, he went to that school. And once I started going to hang out with his group of friends, I started kind of like seeing what a music scene really was. And that's where I ended up like finding more people to work with. And like we started working with a couple different drummers out there because like everybody in our area where we lived, it was just like a couple of guitarists that played metal music, but that was it, you know, like I was one of like 4 guitarists in my local area. I felt like that played metal music at least. And yeah, we started doing music, and I just like I felt like I had something to prove. So like I learned a lot of stuff really quick.
I guess that's how we all start, right?
No, yeah. I started writing like I got like I don't know. I had written like probably like 10 or 12 songs. I'm like I got an album's worth of material and no band to like really do this with. So like I really started like pushing towards trying to work with other people and get stuff going. But I think that was like my biggest mistake was like really rushing that because I kind of stunted my own growth as a guitarist because I stopped focusing on learning. I just started focusing on writing. And my intermediate level only like was like that high. I only knew so much. I barely learned how to harmonize a guitar, and I don't know shit about music theory. So I just kind of like went with the feel of it. But as time went on and I did that project I ended up starting my first band that was like an official band called Nightmare in the Twilight. I was the main songwriter for that project, and it was me and my best friend from middle school. We started that project together and met a drummer dude in our area, surprisingly, who played like with blast beats. He was the only guy I'd ever met that like knew how to do blast beats. So we're like, yo, dude, like let's do some Black Dahlia Murder rip-off music. And we did a horrible job at it, but like, yeah, like we were around for I think like 5 years in our local music scene, and we were doing pretty good. And I ended up just kind of having some differences and just needed to take some time for myself, so I quit that. And around the time I was going to quit that band, I had like for a couple of years already, I was already playing shows with this other guy named Eloy Montez. He's my guitarist for Flub. But, he's been a million other projects and shit in the local area, and like we just started hanging out at shows, and he had asked like, hey, like we're looking for a vocalist like for our band because like we're having trouble with vocalists, like you know anybody who does vocals. And at the time I was kind of learning how to do vocals because like I was trying to write for my project, and I was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot, you know, I'll try it out. And like around the time I tried to try out for his project, he kind of like started going away from the project. He wanted to like leave and do his own thing. So we both ended up quitting our bands like around the same couple of months. And like we for like a whole year we were like just going to shows and getting drunk and like raging hard and like just partying and like going hanging out with friends in the music scene, going support touring bands. And we just kept bitching and complaining like, hey man, like we should start a band. Like, oh, I miss playing shows, I miss this. And then one day I just like, hey, we should start a band together. And he's like, yeah,
that makes sense.
That's how Flub kind of happened. So we've just been pushing on since then. Flub's been around for like 7 or 8 years now. And it's funny too, because like, say we've been around for a while, and like it was me and Eloy who started the project, and everybody else kind of came into place. As like our first bassist was this guy named Charlie. He was in that other band with Eloy prior, and then we went through a couple of different second guitarists for the project. But we got our drummer Jared. I had played a show with him like in my first band. We had played in Oakland to like 3 people. It was not even 3 people. It was like 2 people because it was a weird show that like his band was trying to do a tour. My band was trying to do a tour. We had shows fall through, and his venue's like, hey, we got you guys. Like we could get you a show. It's just going to be intertwined with a comedy show. We're like, what? Like, okay, like we'll see what's going on. And we get there, and like straight up, nobody showed up. There was no promotion. Nobody knew the show was happening, and like the comedians didn't bring out anybody. But like it was like a stand-up comedian, and they'll be telling jokes, and then like a band will be setting up behind them, and then the band will play, and then once the band's done, the stand-up comedian, another stand-up comedian will come up and start talking, and then the band will start setting up. And I remember like just standing there. We're like just like me and this other band. I met the guy Jared, who's their drummer, and we're just watching the stand-up comedians. And one of these guys said like a really screwed up joke, and like we just both looked at each other like, wow, like that was brutal even for like us metal dudes. Like I can't believe he said that. And after like that, like yeah, we talked for a little bit, saw his band play. The dude shredded really hard, and we like had each other on Facebook and shit. But like years later, we ended up like me and Eloy starting the band, and I was like trying to find a drummer, and we're gonna talk to Gabe Sieber. I don't know if you know who Gabe Sieber is, but he's like the most famous drummer in our area. I feel because he's been like Decrepit Birth. He did a Bath. He's done the Kennedy Bell. That's his project, and we're gonna ask him if he wanted to do Flub, but like said he was so busy already as it was. I'm like, no, we can't ask Gabe, but he's already had too much on his plate. But then I was writing solo material, and I posted online, any session drummers out there like want to work on some material? Like I don't really have much money. And Jared reached out to me and decided like, hey, like I could do you guys material for like cheap, whatever. So I had him come do like my solo material and hang out with us for a couple of days. And Eloy was hanging out with me the whole time. And this is around the time me and Eloy were already writing material as Flub, so it was just like programmed drums and like just music and like shitty vocals. And he heard it and he like liked it, so he like kind of asked to be a part of it, and like it started that way, And so that was like 7-8 years ago. So what's really funny is all these people who like recently heard of us now, they know of us from all of our other projects that we ended up joining later down the line, which is like Alter Beast, Veil of Noth, and Rivers Nile. So they're like, Flub's like this super group band. They're like, we're not a super group band. Like we've been around before we did any of the other shit. So.
Well, it turns out I did meet Gabe. I think when he came to Iceland. Danny here in the chat, Danny, guitarist from Cult of Lilith, he's saying Gabe is the man. Like hung out with him when he came to Iceland to play a gig with Beneath, and I remember because we played with them. And I remember the guys talking about Gabe. I remember it perfectly.
Yeah, he's a legend, man.
Yeah, he was sick, dude. The band was fucking amazing.
Gabe lives like 5 minutes away from us, but due to this pandemic, we've only seen him like once or twice.
Yeah, man. How is it there in San Francisco?
I actually live back in Sacramento right now. I was living in San Francisco for for a couple of years, maybe 2 or 3 years, but due to the pandemic, we couldn't really afford where we were living anymore, so we had to make a move and come back to where we could save up some money. Because it was me and my partner, we both had an apartment out over there, and once COVID hit, I lost all my work because I quit my restaurant job to do like music and like artwork full time, and I was doing a bunch of tours, and I was like, I had like a fuckload of like photography gigs lined up for the whole year, and then once COVID hit, all that was gone. So I was like,
man.
Cool, I'm broke, so we got to make a plan to like save money. So I moved in with my guitarist Eloy, so like this is like our place right here. We got our fucking Flub mansion going on. Not really a mansion, it's an apartment, but got like our setup so we could like get music done and work together and shit. So it's all right. It saves us money.
So what are you guys up to now with Flub?
Trying to work on a new album. It's going a little slow, but like I'm okay with that because like our last album that we did, a lot of that material was really old by the time it was released, and there was some attention that should have been paid more to like just the overall process of it. I think it was like a matter of us taking so long in the tracking process and having so many like setbacks that like I felt this need to really rush the release that we did. And like we rushed the content and everything. I just wanted to get it out because like I just quit Ultra Beast and I was like, I need to like release something because I feel like I hate my life. And like we need to release this Flub album before I die, because if we don't release it, I won't die happy if I die tomorrow. So like we just like went balls to the wall and just like released it. And with this next album, we really want to like I said, like this album that was released, the first one, it was like 6-7 year old material by the time it was released. So
wow, okay.
Like this next one, we're like so different as artists now, and so different. Like we all have better skill sets than we did back when we tracked that thing. So I want to like really dial that in for this next one and really show people that like we've grown as artists and we have an idea of what we're doing this time around. So it's taking a little while, but it's already sounding way better than anything we've put out. So I'm like really stoked on it.
I would say that I think if Danny is here, he will be able to tell me. But I think some of the songs in our album in Mara have more than 6-7 years, because Danny, he's the main writer on the band, and I think he's been sitting on that material for years and years. At least some of the songs. But I know the feeling. Like, I think there's a difference though with these songs, because he, just kept working on them, and like improving them with the years. But I can totally get, if you wrote something 7 years ago, you feel completely different as an artist and as a musician today, of course.
I had this conversation with, I can't remember who exactly it was, but we were talking about just like music releases in general. I was talking the same thing about how our album took hella long, and this guy I was talking to, he had told me, he's like, my album came out 10 years after the material was written, but people still loved it. He says if your material is really strong, or if your material is really good in general, like, music is timeless, We listen to stuff like Mozart. Mozart's been dead forever, He's still today something that was like revered in the music world, as of like years and years later. So like, if you really put this time and effort into something and make it beautiful, it doesn't really matter when you release it. It's a matter of how, and like, how well you put that product out.
I think it's about songwriting. Like, when the songwriting is very good, I think it just transcends trends, and genres and stuff. And like, imagine like writing something that is trendy at the moment, but the songwriting is very, very good, that 10 years after, when you release it, this is still relevant, because it's just good songwriting,
Yeah.
Not just like jumping on the wagon, of some trend. Yeah, sorry? Come again?
That Rivers and album that just came out, like, people I see still posting about that album as if it just came out yesterday, but that shit's 3 years old now. Where Owls Know My Name, like, that came out a while ago. People still talk about it like this is the album of the year 3 years later. Like, that's how you know somebody really took their time on something and really made sure that they cared about what they were releasing. And there's other bands out there, and I see a lot of it like in certain scenes, primarily I see it in like a lot of the hardcore deathcore scene, where a lot of bands will kind of start mimicking other bands' sounds.
Absolutely.
It happens everywhere, obviously. Like, it happens in tech death too. It happens in pop music. But like, when one band really makes a stand with this one sound, there's going to be like a bunch of derivative sounds. There's going to be guys who really either like copy that sound, or people who change that sound into their own thing. And that's like the biggest challenge, I feel, is like trying to write something that is not like a copy, a carbon copy of what has already been released. And that's what I want out of us, is to never do that.
It's so difficult, dude. Like, so difficult.
Yeah, man. Everybody's changing the game. I listened to this that Brand of Sacrifice band. You ever check out those guys yet?
I know those guys. I saw a video of them not long ago, like last week or something. Sounds pretty fresh, pretty cool.
Yeah, like it especially like for me, like I grew up listening to a lot of like the MySpace era of like deathcore music. So like I was really into like Old Despised Icon, and like I like the grimy grindcore kind of stuff too. So like Arsis, Get All the Girls, See You Next Tuesday, Psyopus. So like I was really into the very spastic-y, chaotic stuff, but then they'll bring out these slam breakdowns and these chunky fucking riffs. And like that Brand of Sacrifice band, at first when I first listened to the new record, I was kind of like, what's going on? There's so much. But then like I started really like listening to it again over these last couple of weeks, and like it's really cool what they're doing with the sound of deathcore music, and like kind of putting this weird twist on it that's like really making it their own. And they have these really gnarly sounding like off-timing breakdowns and all these weird syncopated riffs. And like it itself is like, it's showing me that like, as much as I thought that there was like nowhere else to go in this genre, like there's still many doors to be opened and so many other like routes to take in this kind of shit. It's just gotta,
of course, there's always doors to open. Yeah. Exactly. But there's always doors to open for sure. You know, like there's always mixes of different genres that we haven't yet discovered. Basically, there's always new stuff to do, but it's difficult to. Also, it's because it's not just about discovering it; it's also about doing good songwriting with it. You know what I mean? It's not just about like, oh, I came up with this crazy fucking idea of mixing fucking, I don't know, like folklore from Austria with fucking deathcore. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just about coming up with a crazy idea. It's about also doing something good out of it.
Yeah, and that's my thing too. A lot of people like for you, for instance, like what would you define as metal music? What makes music metal in your eyes? Because like a lot of people, I feel like they kind of just take the intensity of metal, but like, yeah, like for me, I feel it's like, you know, it's a more angrier, aggressive version of normal music. A lot of like stuff that I listen to, I feel derives from stuff like Metallica's later material and James Hetfield, I feel is just heavy country music, you know, with some thrash metal, like punk rock vibes. And there's like us for Flub, for instance, our guitarist throws a lot of like, you know, a lot of world sounds. We have African beats, we have Latin stuff. We have like all these different world styles of music that we blend in with the genre. And a lot of the songwriting, if you listen to it without distortion, is just a Spanish song.
Yeah.
So like we make sure the compositions are pretty much like, you know, they're not necessarily caricatures of the music. They're very original pieces of those sounds. As in comparison, you hear those bands, they'll throw like a little country sounding thing in a song, and it doesn't like, it sounds like it's like a country song for a second, but then like it just doesn't sound original. It's just like a caricature, you know. It's like these are the fundamentals of what makes this sound like a country song. So let's just throw it here really quick, and now hey, it's country. Like, but then like I said, you get like bands like Metallica and shit. James Hetfield has like a very country soulful voice that he throws over heavier riffing and like, you know, ballad songwriting. And that's what makes Metallica like, you know, amazing is like songwriters in general, is because they're able to bring this new vibe and this new breath into older sounds and making it their own.
Absolutely.
And, yeah,
I agree.
That's all
with
I want to do.
Someone...
You do it as well. You do the opera stuff, man. That shit's crazy. I can't even imagine doing that live.
Thanks, man. Like, I can't tell right now, and it's funny because of course I get a lot of influence from Devin Townsend, and he said in one interview, he was asked like, how do you deal with the whole opera thing? Like, you are not trained, you know, you're not educated into lyrical singing and stuff. And he's like, I don't have fucking clue what I'm doing. It's just force of will, you know. It's just I really want to do it, you know. And it's so funny because I'm actually saying I don't have any education on it, you know. I don't have like proper education on lyrical singing, but it's just I really want to do it, you know. And I think it's sick. Like, I love opera, and I think opera is fucking sick, and I just want to do it, you know. And that's it.
Yeah, it just what sounds right to you, so you make it happen. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, say for me, like I'm not one of those guys who like I could clean sing too, you know, and like I've recently been learning how to get better at it and whatnot. But like I like for Flub, for instance, like I've always like taken influences off of like vocalists who really play around with their ranges, you know, like, you know, Serge from System of a Down, he does like that.
Yeah.
Okay. There's like little high pitched, funny, like sounding like little kid voices, and they do like these really obnoxious like sounds. And then like Mike Patton from Faith No More, Mr. Bungle, you know, like this guy has like 10 different microphones with different effects, and he's just like doing different kind of voices. So for us, like I've always tried to incorporate a feel where it's like we have so many different sounds that are able to coalesce well together. But like I don't want to ever be one of those bands that like, I think people fear that Flub's going to become like a clean singing band, and like I'm not trying to force this clean singing kind of ideal. I'm trying to just see what feels right in the songs for me, what feels like my soul needs to say at this point in time, because I have so many different influences that I don't want to just restrict it to just like the low, high Black Dahlia Murder, you know, traditional style. Like everybody does that. Fuck, come on.
Exactly. Like for me, you know, like growling and stuff is purely emotional. You know, I'm not gonna I feel like, but it's the same with clean. Like I'm not gonna force clean vocals into it because now I think that my song has to have clean vocals on it or something. I will do clean vocals if the song asks for it, if that makes sense. And the same with growling. If the song, for whatever reason, call it emotional or aesthetical or just musical, is asking for it, like it's asking me for it because I'm writing the vocals. If he's asking me for it, I'll do it, but I'm not forcing anything into songs, you know. And sometimes we have tried to force stuff in Cult of Lilith, and we just you know, say no, it doesn't work, you know. Like oh, I want to do this and that and try this crazy shit on this song, but I'm just trying to force it, you know. I'm not thinking of the whole thing, basically, of the whole picture of songwriting. I'm just like, hey, I heard this thing and I want to do it in this song, but let's see if it fits, right?
Yeah, like I said, it's all about experimenting too.
Exactly.
You can see if it fits, and if it doesn't, then cool.
Then yeah, that's it.
Idea.
You know?
Like it's the matter of like taking all those opportunities and seeing which one is the best one and the best suit. And that's another thing with taking time on your music and not rushing it is, you know, when you rush it, you're probably going to release something and like
absolutely.
I feel every musician has done this. You listen to an old recording, and you're like, "Fuck, we should have did that different," or "I should have did that different."
It sucks. That feeling sucks.
And, like I try to minimize that as much as possible, you know, by just hammering away, chipping at it as much as you can every day, and like trying those different ideas. And you know, even if it doesn't work, just let it sit for a second and then come back to it and probably make it better.
I feel
you can't poop out a great song in one day. Some people can.
Exactly.
So it kind of takes some time.
I feel like a big part of songwriting is also about knowing how to discard stuff that doesn't work. You know, I feel like some people write something and they get too attached to it and they are unable to see that, you know, this or that is not working. They're like, oh, but I wrote this and I think this should be part of the song, and probably shouldn't, but it's just you are too attached to it. You know, you're too attached to your creation and you're not letting it go. So I think a good part of good songwriting is also that, like learning to let go, you know, not be too attached to your creations and stuff.
Yeah. You can't take yourself too seriously.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah, you gotta be able to say no to yourself, and that's the hard part too. A lot of people who are creative, I feel,
it can be hard.
As much as we try to say, like, you know, oh, like, I don't care about people criticizing my stuff, or like I don't read YouTube comments because it doesn't mean anything. Like a lot of that really does affect a lot of people, you know, and like it's a matter of like separating yourself from like knowing. It's separating yourself from your pride, you know, like, oh, I wrote this so it's perfect, or like you're like, hey, I wrote a shitty riff.
And that's it.
I do it all the time. Let me make this shitty riff better after a while, you know. Let me see if this could have potential, and I'll write like a 30-second song. I'm like, yo, this sounds kind of cool, but I'm never gonna release this because it's obviously not up to par of what I want it to be. So I'm probably gonna maybe reuse part of this in some other song later down the line. That'll be better. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Like we are bouncing. We are already on the process of writing the second album, and of course we are bouncing ideas, and some ideas are good, but they just probably won't make the cut for the album, you know, for whatever reason. Because maybe not because they are bad, but because they don't fit the idea of the album or the idea of the band, you know. So, and that's fine, you know, it's fine to just discard stuff. Not discard them, but at least for this project, you need to know when, you know. But that's also about learning to not be attached too much to what you write.
Yeah.
And it takes time.
I see it like think of like an illustrator, you know, and there's somebody who's learning how to draw like an eyeball. An eyeball is really hard to draw if you're an illustrator.
It is.
Because like the perspective of it, the reflections of the eyeball, different ways and different themes of how to draw eyeballs. So in order for anybody to get really good at drawing eyeballs, they would have to draw like a fuckload of different ones so many different times where it gets ingrained into their muscle memory. So same thing with music, you know, like you could keep writing and pumping out songs. They may not all be the best, but the fact that you're actually creating these things over and over again and you're seeing the potential that lies within everything you're doing, there's only so many notes in music. There's only so many fucking like semitones in what's going on, you know?
Yeah.
There's only so many drum beats in metal, you know? You got like there's only so much of that shit, dude. Like
yeah.
You gotta like sit down and like just keep pushing it out of your head and then like eventually find the stuff that really does work. Don't like you can't like get down on yourself or get too prideful about it because like everybody's doing what we're all doing. Some people could do it better than others, and they're like better musicians that never like had a following or never got a chance to put their music out there.
Yeah.
And then there's other people out there on stage who don't think about it, and they're like they probably half-ass their material, but they're out there doing it because they're fucking doing it. They're putting it out, and that's all that really matters is just putting stuff out and creating in general and finding what's the best thing that represents what you want it to represent.
Yeah, true. Completely agree. There's someone in the chat saying, Mario, have you recorded your album vocals at home? Not at home, but almost. We recorded the vocals in Kjartan's basement, in our drummer's basement. That's where we recorded the vocals. And it's funny because it was a basement like with fucking parking slots next to it, and there were fucking kids sometimes shouting and playing and laughing and shit. Because there was a crazy guy, me, screaming in a basement. And you could hear sometimes kids screaming and like laughing and shit, and we had to stop recording because the mic would catch it. Yeah, good times.
It's like especially with technology nowadays, and a lot of the fancy mixing and mastering going on, you could like record in a fucking bathroom and nobody could tell a difference for the most part.
Absolutely.
As long as you're happy with your takes.
I have recorded a bunch of albums during my during my career, and I would say the two most successful were recorded just like this. The other one with my old band was recorded at home at my place. So
nice. Yeah, I recorded the Flub album in a tiny apartment in San Francisco. Now I don't know if you can see the size of this room I'm in, but this apartment I lived in was like half the size of this room. It was like a fucking closet. There was no like kitchen, none of that. It was just like a bed, a mini fridge, and then everybody on the same floor shared a bathroom. So like I recorded vocals in that shit for the Flub album. And,
fucking hell.
My neighbors, they're all like 85-year-old Chinese people, so they're like freaked out. I'm just like screaming my face off, and yeah, man, like I said, you could do it anywhere, man. I don't give a fuck. Alter Beast album that I did, fucking that was inside our guitarist Andrew's house too. Like it was in his living room, hella reverb bouncing off the walls because we didn't we didn't do any soundproofing or anything.
That's the way to go, dude. Absolutely. That's the way to go.
Yeah, so those are the albums that I've I feel most proud of, and there's other material I've recorded in like nicer studios, and it's cool to have like the setup and like the pro stuff, but it's not entirely necessary to
not
the
really
picture happen,
not necessary.
Just...
For me it's just a bit more inspiring, to be in a studio than being on a basement, to be honest. Like, of course, if I have to choose, I'd rather be on a cool studio. For me it's just more inspiring.
If I had the money I would.
Yeah, that's the thing, but then there's money, and and we do death metal, dude. Like, there's no fucking money here, so at least not much.
Like, I'll be honest with you. From my time of touring, I've learned there is money in metal, but the fact is that like metal is such a smaller underground community that money is recycled back into making what we already doing like a little better. Like for us, for instance, for Flub, like we fell into debt because of our album, but like we end up like making our money back off of the album, and all that money that we made out of royalties, like it's not like we have a fuckload of money, but like we got like a $1,000 royalty check after like so long, and like that's a lot of money to me. It's $1,000, and I threw it into a merch run, and like, all right, we're printing up new merch, and that money now doubled to like 2,400 or something after that merch run. So like it's not like I have like money to pay my bills and like live like a life of luxury or buy me a car or any of that dumb shit. Like I have this extra little roll of cash that keeps multiplying itself, and I put it back in there to continuously bring better content and better stuff, because I want to elevate the look and sound and vibe and everything of what we're doing, and I want my business to thrive. So I'm reinvesting this money into it. And a lot of very successful businessmen have been doing the same thing for a long time. Like the Artisan Era, for instance, our label, that started out as just like, Malcolm like having something just to release his own stuff on, and that's just like his thing. And they eventually saved up their money to be able to invest in another band, which was Brilliant Depravity. And then once they started making money and doing that, it started growing and it's like snowballing into something bigger.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the hardest things is like, you do make metal, like there is money in metal. I've seen it. People like to like talk down, there's no money in this, there's no career in it. Like there is. You just got to be smart with your money. You got to reinvest it and not waste it on like, we're going to go buy a fuckload of beer after the set and, party our faces off and spend it all in one evening to like go eat a fancy dinner. Like, no, you don't do that. That's why you don't have money.
Yeah.
That's why your band is saying that, oh, there's no money in music. Like
what I mean with there's no money is more like tech death is such a niche,
Oh yeah. I feel it's on the upcoming. I feel it's coming up a little more. Like
you think
from
so?
My high school days of tech death to now, like I feel there's a stronger support system. Like, for instance, like the Artisan Era, like I keep coming back to these guys, is like the fan base around the label is so dedicated and it's insane. Like as soon as the label like announces a new band, everybody who's like loves one band on that label is gonna go check out this next one.
Check out the other one,
like,
yeah.
And if they really dig it, man, they're gonna spend like a bunch of money because they know their money is gonna contribute to these guys putting out better material and better like opportunities for tour, better opportunities for cooler content down the line. And like I see like hip hop shows and EDM stuff out over here, and like there's different value in like those scenes because like I've seen like a Busy Bone over here, Bone Thugs and Harmony. I saw him over here in town, and tickets for that show were like $75. His t-shirts like $100 each. All the opening DJs had to sell like 100 tickets. They were all like $75 each, and like it wasn't like these DJs and all these other like MCs are going up there. Like they weren't like selling merch or anything. They were going up there and trying to like make their name for themselves and whatnot. And like it's a whole different way that they make money that we do.
Yeah.
And it's so weird to see like how they create their success in comparison to the tech death scene, because like I said, the tech death scene, we are very reliant on our supporters. Like, so much. Like I am incredibly thankful for anybody who wears a fucking Flub t-shirt, or like has an album from us, because like every little bit of that is always counted and it's always like been recycled to help us get to the next level. And yeah, it's just fucking crazy, man. I can't believe going to hip hop shows. I can't believe somebody pays $75 to see 12 different MCs and then like the one band that they wanted to see live. Like that's an insane amount of money for
that's
that
pretty
one
sick.
artist.
Yeah, absolutely, pretty sick. There's one Hell's Cake here, so again, Flub, more like Flub. Just kidding. Love you, Michael. Friend of yours.
Flub. Oh man.
Wow, we've been almost for 1 hour already. Fucking hell, that time flies, man.
Oh, I talk a lot. My bad. It happens.
Just joined, and I was wondering if there is some new Flub material soon. What can you say, Michael?
It's not too soon, unfortunately. We do have some plans for this year to release some stuff, but it's not going to be anything off of the new album. The new album, like I said, we want to take some time on, make sure that it's like, nice and neatly packaged. I want it to look better than the last album for sure. But yeah, as far as the most part, like we have like a bunch of rough stuff written right now that's not finished ideas. My guitarist Eloy, if you look up another podcast we did a couple of weeks ago, my guitarist Eloy like spilled the beans and like showed some of like the new stuff they were working on. So if you look up Cali Death Podcast Flub, you'll hear like 10 seconds of like some newer material. But other than that, yeah, it's still coming along. It's a little slower, but it's gonna be worth the wait, I feel, If I'm gonna sit here and rush this product, everybody's gonna be like, this album sucks, fuck this band. Get them out of here. I don't want that to happen. So
Normally, I ask vocalist about the craft, of course, and one thing that I'm always curious about is when you face a new song. But maybe in your case, and also Andrews, when we were talking last time, it's different because you guys also write the instrumentals, right, with guitar and stuff. So it might be different. But if you were to be only the vocalist and you are handed an instrumental, how do you start writing vocals for it? Do you start writing patterns and melodies and stuff, and then the lyrics, or the other way around?
It's kind of like, it depends on how I feel. As far as Flub goes, I don't write any of the instrumental stuff. I leave that all to my guitarist Eloy. But having like the fundamentals of guitar in my head, I kind of like know placings and how like things fit. And like the biggest issue with the Ultra Beast album I did was our guitarist Andrew, he pretty much like wrote half the album on vocals with me, but he's not a vocalist. He just kind of like had the fundamentals down of what vocals are. Is very percussive. So the way he wrote was kind of like more of a guitarist in my head, because like there was a lot of like continuous melody going like back and forth. There's a song we did called Apex Not Eclipse where there's like no fucking breathing at all in that song, and like I had to learn how to breathe and like cut out some syllables to be able to perform it live. So nowadays, after like doing that experience with him, with Flub, I try to more do like, if I have a set amount of lyrics that I want to use, I'll keep them on the side, you know, like here, like whatever vibe to the song, like, all right, these lyrics will probably vibe to this song. It kind of has that feeling to me, but I won't necessarily start mapping out like words right onto the song. I do a lot of the baby talk method. Trevor Shernad from Black Dahlia talks about this as well, where like you're not really saying anything, you're just making noises. And yeah, like I'm just like on a song like rah rah rah, yeah. But like doing that, like it helps me get like the flow down. I'll do it like a couple of times through the song, so I know it's like something I could perform live. Where like, you know, this is the feeling I'm feeling at this part's gonna be more wordy, this part will be more like long stretch stuff, but it always gonna have like these certain sections where I'm able to breathe and it's gonna come natural. And if I could do it all in one take, then I'm gonna start like taking apart those little sections of like baby talk, and I'll count how many syllables I did in those sections. And then if I have pre-written lyrics, I'll kind of start finding stuff like, all right, like this line right here has this many syllables, and that's how many syllables is here. Let me fit it right here real quick, see what I could adjust, kind of play around with it in that area and make it fit a little better the way my imagination's working. But then there's other times too, like I've had people who hit me up for session stuff, and they send me lyrics that they want for their songs, and they want these specific lyrics for this section, that, and I have to kind of work around phrasing to those words. So what I do in that instance is I'll look at their lyrics and I'll count the syllables, and then I'll just do the same thing, the baby talk method over it. And I'll just make sure I'm counting the syllables in my head. I'll literally go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like all over the whole fucking thing. And like, I'm like, all right, cool. Like that's how many syllables in those words. Here we go. If I can replace them right here. Sick, easy. Because especially for metal vocals, a lot of it's just percussive. So you think of it as a drum beat. You know, it's just.
Absolutely. Yeah. I totally agree. The way I do it is also, I had not heard about this baby talk thing. I call it in a different way, but it's the same concept. It's just nonsense, fucking just like patterns, you know.
Yeah,
like I would do patterns and stuff, melodies, and without any fucking sense lyrically, and then I write the lyrics as the last step. Always, that's the way I do it.
I like I said, that's my problem too. I have a bunch of songs. Like I've been writing poetry since I was like in 7th grade, so like I've had that struggle of trying to make those like songs work like that, and I usually feel it doesn't sound as authentic. It sounds very forced in my opinion. So like that's why like there are certain lines that I will like use that I'm like, all right, it just needs to be this way because the way I wrote it, and like I like the way that sounds. But yeah, for the most part, it is the whole baby talk and kind of not really saying any words, just screaming kind of different phrasing.
Yeah.
And another thing I do is actually so for the Flub album, I do a bunch of different voices, and I thought to myself, like, this part sounds like Black Dahlia Murder or something. Like, let me just knock off Trevor Strnad's, like, basic kind of, like, vocal stuff. And I'll, like, baby talk something like that. And then I will, like, amplify it with my own twist of, like, my kind of, like, vocal styles and phrasings. And, like, for me, I like doing a lot of very fast, kind of shotgun-y kind of vocals. Like, I like stuff like fast rappers and shit. And, like, in general, like, just really quick phrasing that's, like, in your face. So I'll like think of something that like somebody else might do, and they're like, if I ever get Trevor to do a guest feature on this song, this is probably how he would do it. And then I'll like, all right, what would I do to make his shit sound better now? Mm-hmm. That's how I kind of start chipping away at it, and it usually starts forming into something. People tell me like on like, or I've seen on like Facebook comments, you sound like Trevor, you sound like this guy, this is that. I'm like, yeah, because like obviously there are influences, and like it's not like I'm like directly knocking on them to try to sound 100% like them, but like I do take influences from those.
But it's in your subconscious, like
say I don't.
It's subconscious, like you can't control that. When you get influences, of course you will sound like people you follow, because
you listen you to learn it, a bunch of thrash metal riffs, you're gonna play thrash metal when it poops out of your head, It's just the way it is. It's programmed into you. Exactly. It's all muscle memory.
Absolutely. All right, Michael. So before I let you go, I'm sure you have stuff to do. I always ask my guests to give parting words of wisdom to people who are starting in music, basically, or some endeavor related to art, or what would you tell people who are let's say, for example, like starting a band, or starting a solo project in their first years of getting into music? What would you tell them? What would you tell to like 16 years old Michael?
Oh man, I would yell at that guy. All I could say is that like, fucking have an open mind. I remember growing up and just like hating all these different styles of music for no reason, and being this kind of elitist kid, and like that really hindered my growth as an artist. And all I could say is, like fucking knowledge is power, dude. I remember hearing that phrase as a kid for so fucking long. Knowledge is power, knowledge is power. But like it never really occurred to me until later in my life that wow, knowledge really is power. I learned how to do this vocal style. Now I could use it in all these other different ways. Or I learned that this is this time, this time signature, and this is how you do this time signature. So now I could utilize that whenever I want. We as human beings are sponges, like when you're a kid and they tell like, you can't cuss around kids, their mind's like a sponge. Like, no, that's our entire lives, not just as childhood. That's as adults. That's all the way till we die. We are a mosaic of everybody we encounter and everything we ingest. The food that we eat becomes a part of us. The music we listen to becomes a part of us. The ideas we share with one another is a part of us. So with that said, keep an open mind, absorb knowledge, and don't be afraid to go out the box. But the only way you could ever go out the box is you have to understand the box first.
Yeah.
So don't try to go too far from the box if you don't know how the box works.
Those are great parting words of wisdom. And I definitely agree with being open. I don't remember being very elitist when I was a kid, but for sure I would hate on other genres for sure. And nowadays there's basically there's not many stuff that I don't like. I think everything that has some work into it, it's worth at least checking out.
Well, like I learned it from I've seen like a couple of my friends, they were like really supportive. They're like older people back when I was like young in the music scene. And I knew my music wasn't that good, but these people were supportive because they're like, they're able to find a groove in the music, and they're able to like give me good criticism. And that's another one for everybody out there is, accept the criticism.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of people who don't like to read negative comments on the internet and all this other stuff, and like it kind of demoralizes the ego, demoralizes the soul. But like, I learned so much from people talking shit about me. Like, hey, you're doing this wrong. I'm like, oh shit, all right, let me try something else, see if that works. And yeah, it's like a matter of taking in that criticism, but like overall, just like being an open mind, absorbing it all, and then overall just do what makes you happy. Like
exactly,
I've been doing
exactly
all I can to just do what I think sounds right to me. So that's all I want.
Word.
And I feel everybody I know who does the same thing is a much happier artist. So do whatever the fuck you want. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
Listen to that, everyone. All right, Michael, it's been a fucking pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure's all mine. Thank you.
Thank you for chatting. We'll be in touch, definitely. I would like to... We could do one of this. Maybe when the Flub material starts to take more shape and you feel like sharing stuff and spilling the beans, dude, we should do one of these again.
Well, if you don't want to go anywhere right now, is there anyone watching still? We got like 2 viewers or something. I could probably poke up something here real quick if you don't mind.
The what? Sorry?
I could put something on for like 10 seconds.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely up for that.
For the 3 people watching, I don't know how many people are watching.
But I mean, this will be uploaded to YouTube later, so.
Oh, it's all good.
It will be up there for eternity.
Shit, so there'll be no copyright stuff. You're all good.
Nah.
I gotta find where the hell we keep all this stuff. Oh wait, we're on Discord. We can screen share it. Fuck yeah. Wait, how many viewers do we have? I want to see if anybody's gonna leak this on the internet for us.
Right now we are 4, I think.
Sick. All right, cool. This could be very exclusive. All right, all 4 of you watching, don't tell anybody I showed you this. All right, this is the only one that we have like actual kind of guitars tracked on it, but the bass and drums are fake. I just gotta load it up here real quick.
Did you guys record it there at your place?
What was that?
Do you guys record this stuff there at your place, or?
Yeah, we're doing everything in house except for drums. We're gonna be doing drums in like a nicer studio, and then sending everything to get mixed and mastered at some point. But we all know how to do everything at home. It's very efficient. Nice. Saves money. There we go. Can you see that? What's going on here?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Oh.
What you listening?
Oh. Hold on. Let me find it somewhere over here. Yeah, here we go.
Ooh. Oh, yes. Dup, 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 dup. I like this. Dude, I'm digging this. Fuck yes.
That's all you get.
Man, this is sick. Nice. Fuck, I'm stoked.
That's all people get for now is just that little saucy little. It's very like I said, my guitarist he's very into world styles of music, so you throw that in there and make it fun. So
that was sick, dude. I'm stoked. I'm stoked.
Yeah, man. Fucking come to the States. Fucking come tour with us sometime, and if we ever have money, we'll go over there.
Well, now I'm fully vaccinated now, so I got my vaccine, so I guess I can travel now.
I mean, like, the world's blocked us off from going anywhere else, so we'll see if America gets out of, this bullshit. But yeah, fucking let's tour together sometime, dude. We'll make it happen.
Next year, dude. Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Yep. Fingers crossed. We got plans to try to tour next year, so it's already in the cards. We're just waiting to see if the world is down.
But dude, yeah, we are definitely up for it. For sure.
Oh yeah, man. Well, it was good talking to you. Thank you for having me on, and thank you for everybody out there listening.
Likewise, dude. It's been a pleasure, and let's be in touch.
Definitely, man. Take it easy.
See you. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye. Hi, everyone.